Setting up a church security team can be a pretty overwhelming task, especially if you have no resources and you don't know where to start. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 simple steps to set up your church safety team. What is up, guys? Will Workman here with Workman Protection Training, here to give you the skills, the tools, and the mindset to protect yourself and your family. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons so that we can get this training past the algorithm. Our sponsor for today's video is Locked In Grip Liquid Shooting Chalk. Locked In Grip keeps your hands free of moisture while providing a great connection to your firearm during training. I tend to get sweaty hands when I train, which causes me to get a blister right here. Locked In Grip makes a huge difference in my connection to the gun, and I never go to the range without it. Check them out at lockedingrip.com. Starting a church safety team, church security team, hospitality team, or whatever you want to call it, can feel like a really overwhelming task. But it is really only as complicated as you choose to make it. What I'm going to give you are principles and areas of assignments for members of your team. This can start off really simple and grow to be as complex as you want it to be. This will really depend on how committed your team is and how much time you can invest in your team. Also, just know going into this that these principles will work for a church of 25 members, just like it will work for a church of 25,000 members. Remember, it's as simple or as complex as you choose to make it. Be sure to stick around to the end where I'll tell you the exact assignments that I give my team each week. All right, let's dive right in. The first area to set up is your greeters. Now, greeters is a very broad assignment, but their basic function at its core is to welcome people into the church while being on lookout for potential threats. This should include the door and the parking lot. If you're a larger church, this could mean having a parking team and a welcome team in the lobby. But if you're a smaller church, this could just mean having 2 guys at the door who are also watching the parking lot. Now, some of you may already be saying, but I don't have any rough, tough military law enforcement guys in my church who are qualified for this. The most important attribute of a greeter is not their tactical experience. It's their heart for making people feel welcome. The tactical stuff can come later with training, but if someone is off-putting or unfriendly to guests, they're not going to make a good greeter.
I'm not happy. I don't like this chair, and I don't like this desk, and I don't like being here.
Greeters can also serve as what I like to call extra fellowship assignments, which is kind of the laying on of hands, blesser of the hot sauce, or welcoming unruly or violent people right out the church door. Again, they don't necessarily need to be big, burly, tactical dudes. Anyone can be trained for this position. If you have a bigger church with more people on your team, extra fellowship can be an additional assignment. I would highly encourage the greeter and extra fellowship team to concealed carry and to take at least 1 firearms class per year, along with having consistent practice times at the range. Anyone starts as a beginner, but you need to all work up to a minimum standard of being able to pass the FBI qualification drill. Now, I know this may sound like a big, scary task, but really, any consistently practicing concealed carrier should be able to do it without any issue. If an active shooter chooses your church to attack with brutal violence, your team needs to be willing and skillfully able to take him down and to stop the killing. If your church is interested in training with us, then check the link in the description down below. The next crucial area that you need to set up in your church is medical. Now again, you don't have to be a doctor or a nurse to do this. We're not going to be doing surgery in the sanctuary.
An emergency tracheotomy. I'm going to need a glass of vodka.
Do you know what you're doing?
Technically, no, but I've been doing some research and I feel fairly confident I know how.
I would suggest starting with 2 or 3 team members to take a CPR and first aid class, as well as a stop the bleed class. These skills are crucial in saving lives in the event of a medical emergency in your church. You also need a trauma kit in your church. Now, this is not the same as a first aid kit. It's not for boo-boos, it's for life-threatening bleeding. This could be an active shooter, a stabbing, or just a bad accident. This will ensure that your team not only has the skills to deal with a medical emergency, but also has the tools to stop bleeding fast. We had an incident where an elderly man fell in our church and busted his head open in the pew, and we had to use our trauma kit. The one that I recommend and the one that we have at our church is the Mountain Man Medical Mass Casualty Kit. It's made specifically for churches and schools. I've linked it in the description down below. Before we get to the last crucial step in building your church safety team and the way I structure my team every Sunday, if you're new to concealed carry, then I want to give you something that will really help you out. And that's my free guide to concealment. It's basically everything that I wish I knew when I first started carrying a gun, and I want you to have it for free. So go check that out in the description down below. All right, the last step of setting up your church safety team is communications. This one is kind of two parts. The first is radio communication. Again, if you're a larger church, this could mean having dozens of radios. For smaller church, this could mean having 3. One for the greeter in the lobby, one for the extra fellowship team in the sanctuary, and one in the nursery in case of a lockdown or a security issue in the children's area. This is a great way to keep your team connected in the event of any kind of emergency. The second part of communications is 911 communications. Someone on your team needs to be responsible for calling 911 and giving them the necessary information during an emergency. You would be shocked at how many people stand around and panic during an emergency. If one member of your team is taking down an angry drunk, giving verbal commands, or giving CPR, someone else needs to be on the phone with 911. This is especially important if there's any type of attack where your team has to take down a bad guy. Law enforcement needs to know what the bad guy looks like and what the good guy looks like so that there's no confusion when they get there. These 3 steps are the best place to start to keep your church safe. The way I structure my team every week is by giving assignments on Saturdays for the following Sunday. That way, if anybody's sick or traveling or anything like that, then we know who's going to be out. I have my team in the lobby who's there to greet people and watch the parking lot. I have my team in the sanctuary for extra fellowship in case the lobby guys need backup. I've got someone in charge of communications in case of an emergency every week, and I've got someone on medical every week. This means they're in charge of the trauma kit, and they're probably going to be taking the lead if there's any type of medical emergency. Now, if your team can be trained in all of these areas, then do it as a rotation so that nobody's doing the same thing every week. Better yet, after you get good at things, add a few more people so that you can rotate and give people some Sundays off. If everything goes right, your team isn't really doing anything. Sure, your greeters are welcoming people into the door, but as a church, we should be welcoming visitors anyway. Other than that, the rest of your team is worshiping. They're there for the service. They're just available and have an assignment in case of any type of emergency. I told you it wasn't complicated. It can be really simple to begin with and get more complex as you get better at training. If you gain value from this video, then don't forget to subscribe down below. And until next time, be alert, stand firm in your faith, be strong, be courageous, and let all that you do be done in love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.